Hello and welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Steve James. Last week, the longtime voice of the Vols, Bob Kesling, announced he'll be retiring following the end of the men's basketball season. And on this week's 30 Minutes, we'll feature Bob Kesling's press conference announcing his retirement, as well as a conversation he had with Paul Tinkle the day after that announcement.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, the voice of the Vols, Mr. Bob Kesling.
Thank you, Coach Early, and thank you all for being here today. It's a difficult day for me, but also a very joyful one to reflect back on what has been such a tremendous ride over the past 26 years as the lead announcer on the Vol Network. In 1972, I arrived at UT as a walk-on fullback from Kettering, Ohio. I didn't know a single guy on the team. I didn't know anybody in the state of Tennessee. I'd only talked to Coach Bill Battle for a few minutes, and I'd talked to some of the assistant coaches. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I'd even last through training camp or two-a-day practice sessions. But I did. I got to wear the orange shirt, played freshman football against the likes of Alabama and Notre Dame, memories that will stay with me for a lifetime. What a thrill it was to play in Neyland Stadium. So you don't have to look it up. I had 9 carries for 36 yards, and I caught a pass against Alabama. With those gaudy numbers, I still don't know why Coach Fulmer, who was a graduate assistant coach on that team, I don't know why they didn't give me the ball more, but Coach Fulmer and I are still working through those issues to this day. But I still give Coach Battle a lot of credit and a lot of thanks for just allowing me the chance to play for Tennessee. While my football career came to a close after that freshman season, I was able to transition into broadcasting, and the places I've been and the people I've gotten to know, it's remarkable. It's really hard to believe and put into words how fortunate and blessed I have been all these years. I wouldn't be standing here without John Ward. He gave me the opportunity to be the film editor on the Bill Battle Show when I was still in school. Later, he gave me the opportunity to be a spotter for football games. And sitting next to him for 15 seasons, I learned how to be a broadcaster, and more importantly, I learned how to do it the right way. He would tell us, I don't need you to be excited about the game, but I need you prepared. When Lindsey Nelson moved back to Knoxville after his Hall of Fame career, I was able to spend some quality time with him as well. Sitting at dinner with him at the old Regus on 17th was magical. The stories he told me of his career with the New York Mets and the Cotton Bowl games, and how he took the idea to form the Vol Network to General Neyland. His advice on being a broadcaster helped me so much. He told me, once you get in this business, you're going to get one break. Are you ready for the break? Have you worked hard enough? And I tried to work hard every day because of the advice Lindsey Nelson gave me. George Mooney did the Vol Network games before John Ward. George moved into a senior living facility in Bearden when he retired from broadcasting. My mom lived in the same facility just down the hall. Getting a chance to know George even better was what a thrill. He told me stories of taking his old fishing boat down the river so he didn't have to battle the traffic. From those humble beginnings, the Vol Navy started. His stories about working with General Neyland and calling the games featuring the Swamp Rat, Dewey Warren, Johnny the Drum Majors, the 1956 Georgia Tech game, the 67 Alabama game, those stories were priceless. Each time we talked, I got a lesson about Tennessee football and, more importantly, the Vol Network. George still had this booming voice. I'd go see my mom, and George would be in the lobby with a microphone calling beanbag baseball games with the little old ladies in the facilities and the Bearden High School baseball team. The little old ladies won every single game. My first paying job in the business was at WIVK. I worked for Bobby Denton. While at IVK, I got the chance to call Farragut football and Lady Vol basketball games back in the late 70s. I'm not sure anybody else wanted to do the Lady Vols back then, because in those days, 150 people at Stokely Center was a great crowd. I got paid $15 a game to start. I never viewed it, though, as women's basketball. I viewed it as SEC basketball. Nobody had any idea in those days that a graduate student named Pat Head would build a college basketball dynasty here. Wins and championships started piling up. Thompson Bowling Arena would sell out to watch the Lady Vols eventually. Pat Head became Pat Summit, and I was there every step of the way for her first 6 national championships. She was an amazing coach, an amazing leader, a role model, and a motivator. If she was your friend, you didn't need a better one. I need to thank Jim Hart, Jeff Lee, two of my general managers I work for, and my colleagues at WBIR TV, and one of my old bosses, Margie Nichols, is here, my old news director. Mr. Hart and Jeff and Margie never stood in my way working for the Vol Network, calling Lady Vol basketball games, Knoxville Blue Jay baseball games, Knoxville Cherokee hockey games, Nashville Sounds baseball games on TV, Westwood One radio NCAA tournament games, and Jefferson Pilot football and basketball games on TV. Mr. Hart and Jeff especially didn't have to let me do all those outside activities and play-by-play work, but they knew how important it was to me and my career. And all my bosses never stood in my way or blocked an opportunity for me to grow. And not all TV stations are like that. I thank WBIR for allowing me to grow as a broadcaster, a journalist, and a person. I want to thank Dr. Joe Johnson and Doug Dickey. They hired me as the lead announcer on the Vol Network in 1999 when John Ward retired. At the time, I was working at WBIR and doing SEC football and basketball games on television. I was not looking for this job with the Vol Network. When Coach Dickey called, I'd not applied, I'd not sent a tape or a resume. I was very happy where I was and with what I was doing. Coach Dickey called me the Monday after John's last game in the NCAA tournament on a Saturday. The draw to return to the Vol Network and to work at my alma mater was too strong to turn down. Now, 26 years later, I have not changed a thing. I want to thank all the coaches I've worked with through the years. All treated me with respect and helped me do my job. I want to thank Edwin Huster, Steve Early, and everyone that I've worked with over the years at the Vol Network, and all the Vol Network folks here today. My broadcast partners, Tim Priest, Pat Ryan, they're here today. Jeff Francis, Rusty Enzer in baseball, Bert Bertelkamp in basketball, and Tim Barry, our engineer, all these years. I'll always remember the great wins over Alabama, winning games in the swamp, calling the basketball game when the Vols became #1 in the country, winning the SEC basketball tournament and SEC championships, NCAA tournament wins, so many great memories. I want to thank my family here today. My wife, Tammy, she held down the fort when I was traveling all over the country calling games. I missed a lot of time with my kids, Allison and Melissa, who are here today. I grew up, and they grew up, but I missed horse riding competitions and soccer games, lots of concerts, lots of events when my two girls were growing up. I missed a lot already with my 4 grandkids, ball games and other events. We just learned we have another grandson all the way coming in April. I think it's time for me to be a full-time granddad. I want to thank the great fans at Tennessee, our loyal listeners on the Vol Network. We wouldn't be here and do this without you. You made it all possible. And the passion of the Tennessee fans never ceases to amaze me. Thinking back this week, hard to believe that I've been at a UT or an SEC football or basketball game every weekend since 1972. Time to spend more time with my family at home on the weekends. I want to thank Brent Hubbs, who was with me every step of the way, too, in the booth, and tries to keep me straight, gives me information, and he's been a valuable resource, and I thank him for not only being with me, but having our friendship for so many years. This is not a snap decision. Over the last 5 years, I've evaluated when the basketball season concluded if I still had the passion and the energy to keep doing this. This summer, we met as we always do, and I couldn't guarantee that I could continue for years to come. While I still love the game day, and I still love being in the booth with our new grandson coming along, I just thought it was time to let somebody else sit in this seat. I'll enjoy my kids. It's not a health thing. I'm as healthy as I've been. I'm not being forced out. This was a mutual decision. I'll miss being in the booth, being in a winning locker room, watching the team run through the tee. But I will have more time with my family. Well, I thank you for coming today. I'm going to close by telling one last story. When Coach Dickey hired me, first day I was on the job was July 1st. I didn't even have a game till September, so I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do, but I kind of grew into it. But he took me to Naples Restaurant, and he told me, he said, now listen, Coach Dickey used to talk with his hands all the time. He said, you're going to have people tell you that you're the greatest broadcaster that's ever lived. Well, that's not true. You're somewhere around in here. I mean, you're not up here, but you're somewhere around here. And you're going to have guys tell you that you're the worst broadcaster that's ever lived. Well, that's not true either. You're not down here. You're somewhere around in here. I don't know where you are, but you're somewhere. You're not down here, but you're somewhere around here. He said, just go out and do the best job you can. And there's only one person you got to please, and that's me. Keep me happy, you'll be fine. I've tried to keep Coach Dickey happy for the past 26 years. I hope I have, and I hope Tennessee fans have enjoyed our broadcasts. And I got to get back to work. We got games coming up. I'll see you Saturday night. Thanks for being here.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Bob, I love you, and I appreciate everything you have done for making local radio like we have a special commodity. But more importantly, you have talked to so many people on the ball games, the broadcast, and of course going into the community and having you to come into places like Union City and Martin and Dyersburg and West Tennessee here. Through the years, you have just been the best ambassador for the Tennessee Vols, and I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, Paul, and it means a lot, and we've been good buddies for a long time. And, the first thing I did, Paul, when I took the job 26 years ago, as you well know, I got in the car, and I drove across the state, and I went to every single Vol Network station to meet the owners and the people on the air, to let them know who I am, pretty much. But people would take me to the Rotary clubs, and we'd go out and see sponsors, and it really gave me a great understanding that, indeed, the state of Tennessee is 3 grand divisions, and each part of the state is a little bit different. East Tennessee is different from West Tennessee. West Tennessee is a little bit different from Middle Tennessee. But they all have one common thread, and that's the Tennessee Volunteers. And it was just really special to me. Hey, and I didn't go on the interstates. I went on the back roads, so I got to drive through the countrysides and just see how beautiful this state is, from the plateau and the cotton fields of West Tennessee and the mountains of East Tennessee. It was one of the best things. I'm so glad I did it. It was the best thing I ever did. And I'm just so appreciative of all the fans and the people that have listened and have supported me. And so it just felt right. Paul, I got another grandson on the way in April. They'll have 5 grandkids, and I missed a lot of games already that they played in. I missed a lot of things my kids did, Allison and Melissa, growing up. So just this summer, we just kind of sat down, and UT wanted to know if I was going to make a long-term commitment, because they didn't want me to drop the mic. They just said, we don't want you to drop the mic and just walk away. Hey, we want to have time to figure out how we're going to restructure this or get the new replacement for you in here and how they fit in, whoever that's going to be. I don't know who it's going to be, but we want time. And I thought, well, that's pretty fair. I need to spend more time. I need to be a full-time granddad now, so that's what I'm going to do. So it just felt right. And so I wanted to do it, just drop the mic at the end of the basketball season. But they basically last week told me, no, we're not going to do that. Against your wishes, we're going to announce it, and we're going to honor you and let your family be a part of this. And eventually I thought, well, that's probably a good idea. And so instead of being totally against it, I kind of bought in. And yesterday, Paul, was unbelievable. The media gathering we had, and went over to Channel 10 and did a sit-down with them. That's where really I got my start in TV broadcasting. Had a chance to talk to all those folks and relive all the great memories there. And I've just been so fortunate. I came here in 1972 as a walk-on fullback. I didn't know a single person in the state of Tennessee. And now when I leave at the end of this basketball season, at least everybody in the state of Tennessee, I think, will know who I am. I might not have met everybody in the state of Tennessee, but I just think that's a unbelievable story when you think about it, that came here not knowing anybody, and now I have just thousands of friends across the state. It's just been a very special run.
You know, Bob, you and I have had some intimate conversations through the years, and I don't know how to talk about it because it's so personal to you, but you have helped a number of people with your love, with the opportunities that God has given you to do things for people. And, you know, I love you as a broadcaster, but, man, I love you a lot more for who you are and for the relationships that you and I have had, Bob, here at the radio station and through the years.
Well, I had kind of got this philosophy quite a while back, and it is, if you have the opportunity to help somebody else, you have the right to say yes. And I've always kind of lived by that. And so when young broadcasters come up to me and they want me to listen to their tapes, I do it. I used to have a broadcasting camp here on campus, and we did that for, 10 years or so. And well, we had to discontinue it because of some facility issues and stuff at UT. And so we quit that. But so many guys came, like, for example, Neil Price, who's the Mississippi State broadcaster, who's coming in this Saturday to do the game. He went to my broadcasting camp. Courtney Lyle, who is killing it right now on ESPN, she went to my broadcasting camp. Darren Hedrick, who's doing stuff at the University of Kentucky, went through it. In our broadcasting area, Tom Hart did his first television games doing Tennessee baseball for a VFL Films program. So you go back and look at how many guys have come through, or I've had a chance to talk to or help or guide any way I could. And that's what makes me really proud of all these people I've heard from today, that maybe I gave them a little shove or got them in the right direction or gave them some pointers to get them started. And that's what really has been the biggest thing for me. And you can imagine, Paul, yesterday at noon when they announced it, my phone just has been blowing up ever since. And it's been so wonderful to hear from so many people and so many friends across the state that I've made. It's been pretty humbling, really, to be honest with you.
Bob Kesling, for those of you who just tuned in here on Good Times in the Morning at WCMT, Bob has announced his retirement. Bob, you have been inducted into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame, and I think in the big picture, and there are some others, obviously, that I think you certainly are worthy of being in Broadcasters Hall of Fame and so forth, but I got an opportunity to meet your pastor. And I tell you what a great guy. And not only that, he shared some stories with me that I won't tell on the air. But, you are around a lot of people, and I know how close you and the Lord are, and the relationship you have with Christ. And a lot of people don't talk about those kinds of things, and you're not afraid to do that at all.
No, Charles Maynard has been my pastor for I don't know how long, but quite a while, and he's really special, and we have lunch every couple of months just to sit down and hash over things. And so when they announced that you could have a little video intro, Charles was obviously the guy to do it, and did a wonderful job. And it's just, he's helped me through some things in the last decade or so, and I just cherish the relationship I have with him. And having him here that night to introduce me was really a lot of fun, and I was honored that he did it, and I thought he did a great job. So, and he was, of course, one of the first guys when they decided they were going to announce it this week, he was one of the first guys I called to try and get some comfort and some counseling about how I should handle all of this. And so he was instrumental in that as well. So it's nice to have a stable full of friends that you know, if you call them, the cavalry's coming, and that's what I've got, and my family's included in that. They have supported me so much. Paul, you know this too. There's so many weekends that if you're a broadcaster, you got to be gone doing games. Not all the games are home games, and you better, with your wife and your family, you better have a good understanding, and they better have a good understanding what they're getting into. And my wife, we went to high school together, and Tammy and I have been together probably since 1970. I'll tell you this, Paul, this is an interesting story. I was the junior class president of my high school, Fairmont West in Kettering, Ohio. And so my main job was to set up the prom. That was the biggest job the junior class president had. So I'm setting it up. I wasn't really dating anybody, didn't have any money. And so, but I'm getting everything set up and getting all the committees formed. And my dad calls me. My parents were divorced. Dad lived in Texas, and we were up in Ohio. And my dad goes, "Hey, hot shot, how's it coming?" I said, "Good. Who are you taking to the prom?" "Well, I'm not going. I've just got too much stuff to do, and I'm not dating anybody. I'm not." He said, No. you got to call a girl and ask them to the prom. You're the junior class president. You need to call somebody. You don't have to marry them, but you need to call somebody because there'll be a lot of young ladies sitting at home on a Saturday night wanting to go to the prom. You need to ask one of those to go with you. Okay, I'll do that. Well, of course I didn't. Then he calls me back on maybe a week later. Said, well, who'd you ask? I said, I didn't ask anybody. He said, get that done this week. Go ask somebody. Of course, I didn't do it. He calls me the Wednesday before the Saturday prom. Says, who'd you invite to the prom? I said, Dad, I didn't invite anybody. He said, okay, here's the deal. You got an hour. I want you to call 3 girls and ask them. Call till you find one that's going to accept. And then call me back and give me the numbers because I'm going to call them to make sure that you call. And he was going to do that. So the first girl I called was Tammy, my future wife. And I asked her to, go to the prom on Wednesday night before the Saturday prom. What an idiot I was. And Tammy goes, I would love to go to the prom with you, but I'm not going because you're calling me on Wednesday. And how rude. And she proceeded to chew me out. And she just said, I can't believe you're calling me Wednesday before the prom. How dare you? Okay, thanks. Well, I crossed that one off the list. I called 2 other girls that I was pretty sure had dates, and they did. So I gave Dad the numbers. I don't think he called. Tammy said he never called. But I was scared to death to see her Thursday at school because, she chewed me out. And somehow we survived that. We went to senior prom together, and then we got married. Now we got 2 kids and 5 grandkids. But it's pretty. I liked her spunk a little bit. The fact that she shut me down big time. Yeah. So I learned my lesson there. But anyway, I've just been blessed to have a great wife that understands the rigors of this job. And I've got to be gone. I got to be on the road. I got to miss horse show competitions with my kids and soccer games and concerts. Not because I want to, just because it's what I do. And I've been blessed to have a wife that understands it and gets it and has been with me all along on this great ride that I've been on. So
Bob Kesling Bob Kesling on the radio with us here this morning on WCMT's Good Times in the Morning. Bob, what did John Ward tell you before he stepped out of, we call it the limelight? You became the new guy. What did he tell you?
Well, actually, after he made the announcement that he was retiring, nothing. He never advised me, you need to take this job, you don't need to take the job. He never talked to me one time about it. And, he announced his retirement before the 98 season. And I didn't talk to John about the job that whole year. He never offered advice. He never said, you need to go apply for it. He didn't say anything. And I didn't hear anything from Doug Dickey for the year. I was at Channel 10 at the time, Paul, and I was doing Jefferson Pilot football and basketball games for the SEC on TV, which is what the SEC network is today. I was perfectly happy with what I was doing and didn't really look to leave. And the Monday, but my contracts were up at both Channel 10 and both Jefferson Pilot. JP had a contract on the table for me to sign to continue to work to do the SEC games. But my contract at Channel 10 was coming to a close. The Monday after John Ward's last basketball game in the NCAA tournament, it was on a Saturday. Monday, Doug Dickey called me at 7:30 in the morning and said, be in my office at 9 o'clock. I said, okay. I thought maybe he was going to ask me who he should hire or I had no idea that I was even a candidate because I hadn't sent him a resume or a tape or anything. And he called me into his office and said, are you interested in this job? I said, well, I'm interested in talking about it. And we discussed things. We met again on Wednesday. And on Friday, he gave me a contract offer, and that's kind of how it worked. It was pretty amazing. But John never talked to me about the job. Even after I took it, he never talked to me to say, these are the pitfalls, these are the good things, this is what you need to look out for. Didn't do any of that. And he also didn't do interviews after he stepped aside. When I became the lead announcer, John never did any public interviews. Didn't discuss me which was a blessing for me as well. And John understood that. I think he knew, I think Coach Dickey knew, I was going to have enough pressure on me trying to replace a legendary announcer like John that I needed to kind of fight my way through the wilderness and figure out how I was going to do this thing. And luckily I was able to do that.
Bob Kesling with us this morning. Bob, one thing about it, you have outlasted John Ward's tenure. You called more ball games than John Ward has.
Well, he did football for 31 and basketball for 34. And I know we're playing more games now than we used to, so I haven't really run those numbers. But the one thing I'm proud of, in 26 years, I've not missed a football game. And the only time I miss basketball is when they're playing in the Bahamas and I got a football game. We've had some conflicts, but I've tried to be dependable. I've tried to be consistent. I've tried to get the score right and get the commercials in. And that's been my biggest goal, and I've been able to accomplish a lot of that. And if I hope if I've entertained some fans, if I've provided them knowledge, I know this, and John did tell me this while I was working for him, the people don't really care who's doing the games. All they care about is tell them how their team is doing, tell them what the score is, and who's got the ball. If you can accomplish those things, you'll be a success. And so that's what I've tried to concentrate on. And, of course, Paul, you know this side of it, too. The guys at the Vol Network, they also want me to get the commercials in, too. So you've got to do that to pay the bills. And but anyway, Paul, it's just been it's a career and just a tenure that I could not have imagined when I arrived on the UT campus in 1972, that there would be such a great place to live, great place to bring up my family, and just the great people I've met across the state of Tennessee. And my phone's still blowing up today with people that I haven't talked to in a while and haven't seen, or maybe that I've helped influence them somehow and helped them better their broadcasting career somehow. And Paul, you get that from people that have come through your radio station that you've helped, and they go on to have maybe not broadcasting careers, but maybe their success in life with their family, or they're doing another business thing.
Well, there's no question. Yeah, listen, we talk about that. Chris Brinkley, voice of the University of Tennessee at Martin, Skyhawks, started here when he was 15 years old, right here in this chair, right here in this microphone. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so proud of him and many others, as you well know. Bob, I know you're on a schedule, and I know we've talked probably a little bit longer than maybe we should, but I just want to again say thank you on behalf of all of our listeners, of all the people that have heard you on our radio stations through the years. And I just want to say thank you for what you do. I'm just glad you're going to finish the season, and I'd like to see a national championship, not once, twice, but maybe 3 or 4 times. Here in the next, we did something in baseball, and we've been doing some things with Pat Head's her success, and of course the Vols basketball team. I think it's on an opportunity, and here we come with a brand new football team, and wow, oh wow! You are going out on some of the best of some of the best teams you'll ever see.
I hope so. I met with Coach Barnes and Coach Heupel on Wednesday to tell them face to face about my decision, and I reminded Coach Barnes. Coach Heupel, I said, John Ward went out with a national championship. I expect nothing less from you, big boy. Let's get on it. Let's win this championship. And he said, that's the plan. That's the plan. That's our goal. So anyway, hey, Paul, listen, thanks. And I value your friendship so much. And I thank everybody up there in Martin and all of the place of the Union City, all those folks up there. They've been great to me, and you've been great to me. And I look forward to our friendship continuing, even though I might not be a broadcaster anymore. I'll do something, but our friendship will stay alive.
God bless you. And thank you, Bob. We appreciate it.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye. Bob
Kesling on his retirement announced yesterday, and he'll finish out the season, and hopefully we'll have some national championship with Bob on the radio.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.